Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with All Things Barbecue, and today I'm making some baked chicken Parmesan. All right, so chicken Parmesan is one of those classic Italian-American dishes that started showing up in the 50s. The Italian immigrants that were used to making this eggplant Parmigiano over in Italy are now using what's around them in America to make a new dish, this chicken Parmesan. Now typically this is something that's pan-fried, but today we're going to do it a little bit differently. This is something I do at home a lot now. This is a really simple process. We're going to do a very simple breading on the chicken and then cook it on the grill. We're starting out with some chicken breasts here that I just going to clean up a little bit, take off any of this fatty stuff, the excess stuff. And then I want to actually cut these in half so they're not quite so thick. This will allow them to cook even quicker. And a lot of times with chicken parm, you'll actually see these get butterflied out into one giant serving. We're actually going to make one breast into two servings, and we're going to do that by going all the way through, just slicing as even as possible. Not bad, right? About even thickness. And as we clean each one of these up and get them sliced in half, we're going to get them into a little bit of marinade, which actually is going to work as our egg wash, or what we would normally use as an egg wash in the breading process. All right, so we're going to start off with a thin layer of the Smoke on Wheels barbecue marinade. You guys have seen me use this before. This is a really savory marinade. It's essentially olive oil, butter, garlic, lemon, and a few different spices. But it's really a perfect flavor profile for this sort of dish. All right, so we're just going to layer these chicken breasts in here. Cover them up with the rest of the marinade. And we'll set these aside as we start to prepare our tomato sauce. For the tomato sauce, we're going to keep it really simple. We're starting with the base of San Marzano canned tomatoes. We're going to add a few simple flavors to that, like some garlic, a little red chili, and some fresh basil. All right, so we're going to start off with 1 can of San Marzano tomatoes, and we want to break it down a little bit finer because these are whole tomatoes. And this is another product that you can pick up over at atbbq.com. We're just going to break these down a little bit. Got a few chunks, no big deal. That should be just fine. All right, so we're going to take a couple of cloves of garlic here and slice these up. All right, I'm not going to go crazy on that. You can leave it kind of chunky. Just get down a tablespoon or two of some olive oil. All right, so you don't want your oil super hot right now. You don't want to scorch your garlic. We're just going to gently cook this down for a minute or two. In the meantime, I'm going to slice up some basil. All right, so we want a couple tablespoons of really finely minced basil. Start off with a little chiffonade here and then just break it down from there. I already smell that garlic's getting aromatic, which tells me it's about time to add some tomatoes. And we're going to pour in our tomatoes. Gonna move these around and incorporate that oil. Let's give it a pinch of some red pepper flakes. Just a shake of our smoked salt. And then we're going to bring this to a simmer and just let it reduce down a little bit to thicken up. Now this is what about 10 minutes of reduction looks like. All of those flavors coming out of the garlic, out of the red pepper flake, that's all really coming alive. I'm going to shut the heat off and add our fresh basil. Stir this in, and just the residual heat is going to be enough to really bring out the oils in the basil. Now we'll set this aside as we get our chicken breaded up. For our breading, we're gonna need, about 3/4 of a cup of grated Parmesan. And the base of our breading is gonna be panko breadcrumbs. I like the texture on these a lot. And we'll add our 3/4 cup Parmesan to that. And then we need to get some seasoning in here. I'm gonna season this up with my favorite Italian seasoning, which is the Cattleman's Grill Italiano, that features plenty of salt, some fennel, oregano. There's lots of Italian herbs and flavors going on in there. A little bit more of that chili flake. And this is gonna add big flavor to the end product. Now that chicken's been soaking in the marinade for about half an hour, which is fine. At this point, we're ready to start the breading process. And like I said before, this is not your classic 3-step breading process. We're not gonna go through all that trouble to make the egg wash and everything. We've already got the marinade, which will work as a binder, and this really beautiful dredge of the breadcrumbs and the seasoning and the Parmesan. That's all we're gonna need today. We're gonna make it simple. We're gonna make this easy to pull off at home. All right, so let's put down just a little bit of olive oil in our skillet so we have a fat barrier. And then we'll get to our chicken cutlets. All right, so I am gonna take off some of this marinade, but we're gonna leave enough behind that the dredge will stick. So we'll just press that into our dredge and get a really nice layer on the outside. All right, so we're gonna get about 4 of these into each one of our 12-inch Lodge cast iron skillets. You could do this in a sheet pan, and I have done that in the past, but I found that the cast iron actually gives a nicer crust to the bottom. So we wanna have a nice, hefty coating of this crust. This is where so much of our flavor is coming from. And what's gonna happen now is the breadcrumbs are soaking up some of the fats from that marinade, and it's going to give you that illusion of having a fried product in the end, but it's actually just oven baked or grill baked in this scenario. We're running our Yoder Smokers YS640 pellet grill at 425 degrees today. I've got the hatch removed on my 2-door diffuser, and we're gonna place these in an indirect zone so that we don't scorch them. So we'll start on the right side and the top. Our second skillet's gonna go on the bottom right. This should be out of any direct flame on the skillet itself, and we can rotate these two about halfway through the process to make sure that they cook evenly. I'm gonna be back in about 10 minutes to check on these. This really isn't a long process, but I wanna make sure that we cook them evenly. And the goal here is to get these cooked almost all the way, not all the way finished, before adding some sauce and a little cheese to the top so that everything melts and finishes at the same time. Well, we're about 25 to 30 minutes in total now. I've been rotating these pans around a little bit, even giving them a little bit of time right above the fire to really crisp up the bottom of the chicken. At this point, we're ready to add some cheese. We're reaching about 140 degrees internal temperature. So we're gonna add our mozzarella on top of some of that red sauce, and then we're gonna let that sort of finish out and melt out and finish around 160. So you just wanna spoon on some of your red sauce on top there. And then we're gonna lay out some thin sliced mozzarella cheese. And I want to finish this off on the second shelf. All right, and these are looking melted nicely now. Temperature's up to 160. So these are done and ready to plate. Today I want to serve the chicken parm on a bed of zucchini noodles. So I'm going to hit these with just a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of our red sauce, some fresh cracked pepper, and a shake of our smoked salt. And I'll just toss this to coat all of these zucchini noodles. Now these aren't cooked or anything, these are raw. They taste great this way, the texture is fantastic. And this makes for a beautiful little bed to rest our chicken Parmesan on. All right, finishing touches. I want to put just a little brown on the mozzarella, and we don't need the broiler to do that. All right, so just a light toast on top, and hit that with a little bit of black pepper. Beautiful. All right, I'm gonna snag a little taste. We got a beautiful crust on the bottom. Oh man. Savory, big red sauce flavor is fantastic. I'm picking up all of that Italiano. I mean, the breading is so flavorful. And the inside of that chicken is nice and tender. Now this is not your classic chicken Parmesan that you're used to with the pan fry, but I promise you are not gonna miss the pan fry. That crust on the bottom is beautiful, especially in the cast iron, and the flavors are huge. This is downright delicious. Hey, thanks so much for watching. A lot of you guys have been asking about the specific products that we're using in these videos, so I'm gonna make it super easy for you. We're putting direct links in the video description as well as a direct link to the recipe so you can get specific step-by-step instructions. If you enjoy the video, please hit that subscribe button, and if you have any questions or comments or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below. And hey, let's be good to one another. Happy New Year, guys. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to thesauce.atbbq.com. All things barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.